Alright, but those are all the poses. So overall, I would definitely say Keone Pearson. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Keone Pearson versus Mike Sommerfeld. So I was just scrolling on YouTube, found this video by Project Bodybuilding, and I think it's a fantastic video. I'll have it linked in the description. I would highly recommend you go watch it. But he's comparing Mike Sommerfeld and Keone Pearson, and I can't think of a better comparison. Mike Sommerfeld, even though he's in classic physique, literally looks like a 212 bodybuilder, and even Keone himself, I believe, on the Cutler podcast, I think it was, he said Mike looks like a 212 bodybuilder.
Mike looks like a 212 bodybuilder on stage.
And he really freaking does. So we're going to be comparing them today, seeing who wins. Because, I mean, Keone's in the 212. Mike looks like he's in the 212. So let's go over it. In the first pose, we have the front double bicep. And in my opinion, I think Keone takes this one. He has more flaring lats. His quads do appear to be bigger. He has just as small of a waistline, and he has more peaked biceps. So although Mike Sommerfeld definitely looks really great in this pose as well, Keone is just bigger. Overall, his quads are bigger here. He's just the bigger human. So Mike and him, obviously, they have a very, very similar shape. Keone's just got more mass. The conditioning's very close. I think he takes the front double bicep, especially in the arm department. Even if you look at the tricep drop on Keone here, his triceps are way, way bigger. So Keone takes the front double. Front lat spread, I would also have to personally give it to Keone. If you just look at the shoulders and arms specifically in this shot, Keone, he's just got more mass. He's obviously in a bodybuilding category, whereas Mike is in classic physique. So even though I think, you know, the waist size very comparable, I think the chest is also pretty comparable too. Keone, again, slightly bigger in the quad department, and he's got bigger arms and shoulders, just as wide, like flaring lats and stuff. So again, Keone takes this one, but it's not lights out for Keone. It's pretty damn comparable between the two. Side chest, again, Keone, arms, shoulders are bigger in this pose. Conditioning very close. And another thing I'm noticing is his hamstring drop is quite a bit greater than Mike. So although I think Mike's midsection here actually does look better, Keone's abs, in my opinion, are pretty freaking trash. He is kind of hiding it with his arm, though. I think Mike's looks a little bit nicer, but again, it's still bodybuilding. Keone's got more width from shoulder to shoulder, so he's winning the side chest too. The back double bicep, this pose is interesting to me because I would actually go as far to say from the back itself, Mike Sommerfeld takes it. I think his traps especially just look thicker. He seems to have more muscle anyway in that lower lat area and stuff. So I think from the back, this is Mike Sommerfeld's pose. But when you look at the limbs, I do think Keone takes it. So he's got bigger shoulders, bigger arms, and he absolutely shits on Mike in the hamstrings and quad sweep. That is Mike Sommerfeld's biggest weakness, is the hamstrings, or really just the legs from the rear. They really don't look that big anyway, and as you can see, he's got that thigh gap from his erectors not being as developed, whereas Keone, that shit is closed. So although I do think Mike Sommerfeld actually has the better back in this pose, I still have to give it to Keone for the overall balance of it. But it's definitely not lights out for Keone here. It's still very comparable. Back lat spread, I think it's a very similar story, although I do think this one is much closer because you don't really see the arms as much. But again, Keone is just dominating in the lower portion. So even if I think Mike Sommerfeld is slightly better up top, Keone, because of the hamstrings and the quad sweep here, he's winning the pose again. And then project bodybuilding, there wasn't really a shot of Mike doing a side tricep, but I think it's safe to assume Keone would also take this pose. Now, what he has here is a shot of Mike doing a side tricep. It's just he's obviously not conditioned. This is him guest posing, but I think Keone would take this shot. Now, I do think this would be closer than the side chest because I think this exposes Keone's abs more, which are definitely a weakness. So overall, I do still think Keone would take it because of the hamstring drop and more width from shoulder to shoulder, but I think this one would be very, very close, especially because Mike's has a much better like midsection or the abs in this shot anyway. But if they were both equally conditioned, I still think Keone would have an edge, but very slightly in this one. Abs and thigh, for the abdominal portion, it's absolutely going to Mike Sommerfeld. Keone doesn't even hit this post straight on because he knows his abs are a weakness, and he has a little bit of a bubble gut kind of showing here. You know, it's kind of sticking out a little bit, and of course the abs, he's got that split in the middle. So although I think he definitely has more width and more of a V taper in the lats and stuff because his lats are bigger, and he does have slightly better quads than Mike, overall in the abs flexed portion of the abdominal and thigh, Mike Sommerfeld takes it. And in the vacuum, I will give it to Keone. He's got a better vacuum from what I can see and bigger quads, and of course he's got that little bit of a better taper from just having bigger lats. But it's called the abs and thigh pose. So overall, I think Mike Sommerfeld wins the abdominal and thigh pose because it's called the abs and thigh, not abs and vacuum. If you can do the vacuum, I think that's a bonus, but the main pose, you want to see the abs, and Mike simply has way more aesthetic abs than Keone in this shot, so I would give the ab and thigh to Mike Sommerfeld. Most muscular, I think this is actually quite close. Now, the picture he's using of Mike here is a little bit edited, but Keone definitely has more size, especially in the arms and shoulders and a little bit more in the quads, but I think their chests are quite comparable. And the main thing, the way Keone's hitting this most muscular, it's really, I can't help but notice the abs. They simply just don't look very aesthetic. So honestly, I could see this going either way. Now, you in the comments, I know Keone's fan base is crazy and it's like a cult-like following, and because he pretty much has like really, really good genetics, but I would say Mike also has really, really good genetics. But I can see why many people would choose Keone in this pose, but I can also see why some people would go with Mike. So I'm giving this one a draw. I like them both for different reasons. Keone, he's got more of the mass, but that ab split for me, man, is just really detracting from the overall look. Whereas Mike, he's got those really aesthetic abs and obliques. So pick who you like here. I'm giving this one a draw. Alright, but those are all the poses. So overall, I would definitely say Keone Pearson would beat Mike Sommerfeld if Mike Sommerfeld was just like, hey, I'm going to go compete in the 212 division. Although I do believe Mike Sommerfeld could get a runner-up spot. I do think he can beat Sean Clarita, which, I mean, maybe that's a better comparison because Keone, he's obviously bigger than Mike, but let's say Mike wins Classic Physique and then he wants to move up to the Open and he puts on more size. I do believe if he can put on more general size and bring up the hamstrings, I do think he can totally challenge Keone Pearson. I think these two people right now have the best genetics in bodybuilding right now. Mike Sommerfeld and Keone Pearson. Now, of course, Keone Pearson is competing in an open, like in the 212 or whatever, which is open bodybuilding, and Mike in classic physique. So it's, you can't really compare, as Mike's in like a lower weight category, I guess you would say. But if they both competed in open and put on, if Mike put on the necessary size, I think he would definitely give Keone a run for his money, especially because his abs are really good. The main difference I see between Keone Pearson and Mike Sommerfeld is Keone overall is a little bit bigger in every body part, but then his abs are really not good. But then Mike Sommerfeld Keone has way better hamstrings, but then Mike Sommerfeld's abs are really good, and he's just a little bit smaller everywhere else. So very comparable. I think that, a lot of people are like, oh, Keone, unmatched genetics or whatever, but I really do believe Mike Sommerfeld is at least on par here, especially because he has a really aesthetic pair of abs, which Keone lacks. But other than that, these guys are both top tier physiques. I mean, holy shit. If these guys both go to open, I definitely think both of them will have a shot at winning the Mr. Olympia title, because they both equally have barn door wide shoulders and a minuscule waist. Again, Keone a little bit more of a V taper, but that's just because he has more size. The actual shape is very, very comparable. So that's the video, guys. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments, but it is safe to say that if Mike Sommerfeld competed in the 212, I do believe Keone would come out on top, but he wouldn't win every pose. I think the ab and thigh goes to Mike, and I think it's pretty close on the other poses. It's definitely not a complete whitewash, so very interesting. Let me know if you agree with me, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.